I remember one time in 6th grade, I was down in the cafeteria and this kid said something to me, and with regards to somehow my parents didn't want me, that's why I was put up for adoption. I don't know how he knew, actually, because he wasn't really a friend of mine, but I knew him. So yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, I didn't like it.
How did that make you feel?
I think I punched him, if I remember correctly, and threw some milk on him. So yeah, I wasn't having that.
My mother kind of made it clear, don't come home here with that baby, is how she put it. And so I didn't think I could do that. I had never heard of welfare or any kind of aid. Whether it existed or not in 1964, I don't know. After the birth, I went back to this apartment and it was very lonely. I had all this milk. She didn't give me anything. I think they give you some now, but I don't recall having gotten anything. And so I had all this milk and I was in a lot of agony. And she said, just keep yourself wrapped tight and all this. And so I lay there on a couch, you know, wrapped up, this milk dripping, you know, and just miserable.
It didn't seem, for most people, a very long period of time because we applied in January. My daughter, Whitney, was born in August, although she did not come to us until December. And people say, oh, a year, that's not very long. Well, every hour of every day, after years and years and years, is an eternity.
From the day I held her in my arms and brought her home, it was the dream come true. A psychologist did a 15-page profile on her, and she was 9 years old at the time. She was diagnosed with abandonment. I couldn't understand why he would see her as being an abandoned human being. That scared me. It really terrified me that she felt abandoned. And I didn't understand it until much later.
Since the orphan train era, social workers considered babies a blank slate and believed children adapted easily into a stable home with love. But the reality of their loss and feelings of abandonment cannot be dismissed. They were brought to town halls. Because of their size, the children were put on stages or boxes to be seen and picked out by the adopting parents. Hence the term, put up for adoption.
It was bad. We had a lot of yelling and screaming and troubles and fights and kicking out. But it wasn't until we got to that point where the counselor we were seeing realized one of the big issues was adoption. One of the big issues was race, interracial family. And the third thing was that it was the family. It wasn't just you with problems. That's when I think it started to make a difference, when we looked at it from a new perspective. And adoption was the central issue, right? That we hadn't really dealt with. Mm-hmm. It's like the big thing. It was like the elephant in the middle of the room, walking around it and talking about everything else. But, oh, the elephant.
Stepping on the furniture.
That's right.
Very first workshop I attended, and all three members of the triad, birth mothers, adoptive parents, and adoptees were there. They lifted a tablecloth off of this big table. It was covered with all kinds of miscellaneous things. And I held up the pen and I said, this pen is for my birth mother, for the letter that she never wrote to me, that she talked about me every day, that she died of an extended illness. She didn't take the time to write me a letter, something real that I know is for me. And I said, this rock is for my adoptive parents because their love for me was like a rock. It was steadfast. And it's also for me because I was like a rock and it couldn't penetrate. And when it was my turn to sit down in the center, all these birth mothers are coming up. One birth mother came up with her skirt full of Hershey's Kisses and just rained them on me and said, these are for the kisses that you never got from your mother.
For years, I didn't tell anyone, except a few close friends, that I was a birth mother. That though I loved my daughter dearly and wanted to keep her, no one would help me. And so I had to relinquish her for adoption. Losing her felt like an amputation. I held this sacred secret in my heart until I could no longer contain my feelings. And I wrote a play about it. Then I started to talk to other people in the adoption triad and heard all of their stories. And this is really what inspired me to make a film.